It's no secret that since I got into Elden Ring, I have been slowly dipping my toes back into the Souls-Borne genre for the first time in many years. While I still haven't shut up about the Elden Ring DLC,
we'll be right back with more
Elden Ring.
But I want it now!
I want to take the time to talk about a new Souls-like game. Well, I guess it's more of a Bloodborne-like game, but that's neither here nor there. Let's talk about the Pinocchio Souls-like game, Lies of P. The backlog is real. Whether you're playing on Nintendo, Xbox, PlayStation, or Steam. And mine has gotten out of hand. I have no self-control, and when I see a deal, I have to grab it. Come with me as I finally tackle my backlog, gaining control one game at a time.
I have no idea where Geppetto is buried.
I first became aware of Lies of P about a year ago after the first gameplay trailer launched, and my initial reaction to it was, meh, just another wannabe Souls-like game that's trying too hard to be unique. What I meant by that is, I thought that it was so unique that they would try to just sell you on the concept alone, while not really focusing on its gameplay and overall polish. I mean, it's called Lies of P. Who would have thought that a game like this, based on Pinocchio, of all things, would be good? I didn't, at least until I played the demo. I know this is a random tangent, but developers should really release more demos of their games. It would save me from getting burned out of $70 every time I think a game looks cool. I'm looking at you, Lords of the Fallen. But I played the Lies of P demo and didn't even finish it before it sold me on the game. It was unique, and not in a bad way. It was dark but beautiful with some really cool environmental storytelling going on in the starting area of Krot Central Station. I was surprised at how atmospheric the game was right off the bat and how polished the game actually is. You play P, a puppet that is woken by a blue butterfly on an abandoned train. You are thrust right into the combat, and once you get to Hotel Krot, which serves as the main hub of the game, you learn that Geppetto, who is not only your creator, but the creator of puppets in general, is missing, and you have to find and save him. The puppet rampage that has been plaguing the world is of mysterious causes, and Geppetto wants you, his boy, to get to the bottom of it. They say that puppets are controlled by something called the Covenant, which means that they obey the commands of humans, can't hurt humans, and can't lie.
You sure about that? You sure about that?
So the logical conclusion here is that someone is behind the cause of the puppet's violence. You're a unique puppet because you can lie, which comes in handy throughout the game with your choices affecting the ending you receive. Contrary to what we're used to in most Souls-like games, the story here is way more front and center than, say, Dark Souls or Elden Ring. Though most of the story is delivered through NPC conversations,
I knew from the moment we met that you're Geppetto's puppet.
Items and notes you find throughout the world, and through cutscenes. I never felt lost or like I was missing something with the story as a result of its more direct storytelling. Not a lot of it is left up to player interpretation, so if that's what you love most about Souls games, then it's not here for you. I quite enjoyed the story here, and I'm honestly looking forward to the recently announced DLC and sequel, though they probably won't release for a while. The game takes place in a fictional city called Krot. There are 11 total locations you have to go throughout the game, and they all spread out from Krot and the hotel. You can see as you walk around, there was the makings of a high society and aristocracy, and as you venture around, you can see luggage strewn all over the sidewalks and train station, along with the corpses of those who attempted to escape at the start of the puppet uprising. The areas you visit are very diverse and unique in their own way. There's a train station where you start, Hotel Krot, different neighborhoods and side streets of Krot, Vanini's workshop, which is where the puppets are made, an opera house, exhibition hall, church, and a freaking poison swamp. Of course there's a poison swamp. Like every Souls-like game, there has to be a poison swamp. The level design of each area helps keep them all unique and lets them all stand on their own. I always love how the areas wrap around on themselves, leading you to shortcuts or stargazers just when you feel like you are close to needing a break or reset. The cool blues contrasted with the crazy puppet frenzy and haunting environmental storytelling all feed into building a world that feels real and dangerous. The music here is phenomenal. French-inspired jazz tracks that feel period accurate and help set the era the game takes place in. One of the collectibles you find throughout the game are records that you can play back at the hotel. One of my favorite things to do is to go to the hotel and play a record while going around and leveling up, upgrading weapons, Legion arms, and the P organ.
Close your eyes. Come to me, feel alright, just dance with me all through the night.
This is a combat-focused action RPG. In true Souls-like fashion, your aim is to focus on one enemy at a time while you make your way through, rhythmically attempting to read their moves and strike. The combat system here favors action over passivity, like Bloodborne over Dark Souls. One way they encourage this is by letting you regain some health after you take damage. If you land a couple hits on your aggressor before the light red portion of your health bar disappears, and your damage is locked in. But adding another layer on top of that, the enemies and bosses are also afforded the same privilege, which in my opinion makes combat fast-paced and engaging. You are also able to block, parry, and perfect parry. If you just block, you will take some damage to your health and stamina. If you parry, you will deal stagger damage to your opponent, leaving them open to a critical hit, and you might break their weapon, severely lowering their attack power. They also have an undodgeable attack, which is indicated by their red glow. The only way to avoid taking damage is to time the attack and perfect block it. Or, run the hell away as fast as you can, which is what I did because I suck at parrying. You also have a Legion arm, which functions similarly to the Shinobi prosthetic in Sekiro. The one you start with is nothing special, but early on you get the ability to craft multiple, each with a different function. You can get one that has a flamethrower, one that emits an electric shock, one with a shield, and even one with a gun. Yeah, America, and more. I switch between the flamethrower arm and the electric blitz arm mostly, but the acid arm is pretty great too, and even helped me with some of the final bosses in the game. Probably the coolest and most unique aspect to the game are the weapons. There are tons of really cool and unique weapons in the game, but that isn't the main draw. Each weapon splits into two sections, the blade and the handle. And you can mix and match pretty much all of the blades and handles in the game to create some crazy and unique combos. One that I kept seeing people do was take a huge saw blade and attach it to the saber handle to poke and fence with. What's cool is that the strength of the weapon lies in the blade, but the weapon's scalability lies in the handle. So being a strength build, I used the Live Puppets axe blade with the Crot police baton handle. Sure, it's slow and short distance, but damn does it hit hard. I'll be honest, I didn't experiment with the weapons as much as I should have, and I regret that. I stuck with the main strength starting broadsword and upgraded that until I got the 7-coiled spring sword and at the barren swamp area, which is where you'll find the Live Puppet axe. But there are so many combinations you can create, so I'm looking forward to that the most on New Game Plus. One added layer to your weapons is its durability meter. I know, I'm not much of a fan of durability either, but Liza P does it very well. Built into your Legion arm, you have a grindstone that you have to use to recover the weapon's durability. That's it. Honestly, I never really noticed it or needed to fix up my weapon much between waypoints. My weapon broke once in the final area of the game. It caught me so off guard that I was shocked when it happened, since I hadn't really paid much attention to it until that point. The other thing the grindstone does is add elemental damage to your weapon. You get one charge that you can upgrade later with the P organ. Along the way, you get these swappable abrasives that add a buff to your weapon for a limited time, and they come in clutch when you know what enemies are weak to which effect. As you make your way through Crot and kill enemies, you gain something called Ergo. Ergo is your everything. Your experience points to level up with, as well as the currency you use to buy some pretty broken and powerful throwing items. Of course, if you die before you can level up or buy your items, you will lose the Ergo upon death, and if you die again on your way to retrieve them, you will lose them forever. Pretty standard stuff at this point, but it feels motivated and natural. A couple of things that they do that I completely love is indicating that you have earned enough Ergo to level up by changing the color of the amount you have from white to blue. It's a small and simple thing, but it stops me from having to go menu digging every time to figure out if I have enough to level up or not. The other thing that I love is that if you die during a boss encounter, your death Ergo is placed outside of the boss gate and isn't trapped inside with the boss. It's always annoying to have to scramble to your souls while either taking avoidable damage or evading the boss before you can actually start the fight. This also makes tackling tough bosses over and over again easier to approach, since you aren't worried about permanently losing your XP if you die and decide to grind a level up before you try again. I think that this should be adopted across the board, since most people, when they play these games, either waste it all on items before the boss or go grind out a level before a boss in order to take that worry away. P's attributes are also expandable and upgradable with the P organ. The P organ is separated into 5 different phases, and you need an item called quartz to slot into it. Each time you slot in quartz, you get to pick a specific stat that increases or changes while building towards the overall buffs. I'm still mixed on this form of progression. Sure, it's how to increase your pulse cells to heal, as well as the Fable arts, but there are also some things locked behind it that I feel should have been available from the start, like the additional dodge roll that you can unlock. But I think they just fixed that in the most recent patch. I've talked a lot about the combat and weapons, but what about enemies and bosses? There are 3 different types of enemies in the game. The first, of course, are the puppets. They are the first you encounter in the game, and there are a great variety of them throughout each location. The second are just regular humans, either survivors just trying to make it through, or stalkers who hate the puppets and want them all dead, like the Donkey Man, who whooped me so many times in the beginning. The third type of enemy are crazed humans who become monsters due to the petrification disease, something that ripped its way through Crot around the same time as the puppet uprising. Of course, it wouldn't be a true Souls-like without a plethora of bosses, and Liza P does not disappoint. There are tons of bosses in the game, all with their own unique moveset to learn and challenges to overcome. I love all of the bosses in the game, but one that messed me up the most was probably the green monster of the swamp. I don't know why, but every time I would get to the second phase, I would either just get stun locked or one-shotted. But I did manage to beat it with 1 hit left on my health. Talk about nerve-wracking. Progression throughout the game always seemed fair to me. I never felt too underpowered once I reached the mid-game, though I did do a fair amount of grinding. All of the weapons feel awesome to wield, and when you make contact with the enemy, you feel it. The animations for P and all of the enemies are super fluid and tight as well. I love the way P jerks randomly while he's standing idle. It's a great indicator that even though he looks human, he is a puppet. The bosses and enemies all move well, and overall everything feels really polished. You hit waypoints along the way called stargazers. These are the game's bonfires, more or less, which not only replenish your health, legion arm, and weapon durability, but it's also where you can warp to other stargazers and tweak your loadout and skills. Liza P really does take the best parts of Bloodborne, Dark Souls, and Sekiro and adds its own spin on things with the customizable weapon combinations and dark Pinocchio atmosphere. It really does live on its own as a Souls-like game, with a level of polish that really isn't seen much outside of FromSoft games. Korean developer Neowiz really knocked this one out of the park, proving that they not only love FromSoft and the Souls-Borne games, but also displaying that love through the challenge and level design, indicating that they truly understand the point of a challenging yet rewarding game. Oh man, Bloodborne keeps popping in my head every time I play these kinds of games. I really wish it didn't freak me out so much.
Coward. We have a new world to conquer. Me alone, please.
If you made it this far, thanks for watching. Don't forget to give me a like, subscribe, and comment, and I'll see you on the next one. Thank you.